I was called on stage to speak directly to Abraham Hicks, where I was able to ask her 2 questions at the Philadelphia convention that she had here a few days ago. And I want to tell you about that experience. Hi, I'm Tim Welch. This is Selfless Awakening, where I like to talk about consciousness, higher consciousness, different teachers that are teaching awakening and mindfulness. I like to find that what I believe to be what I feel is their primary note to sing in this world. I like to compare the different teachings of these teachers. We have so much access to so much amazing information on how to feel better, how to ascend, how to step out of old pattern thinking and live a new life. There's so much of it out there now with YouTube, with the connectedness of the internet, with everything. And so this channel is dedicated to that. If you like what I'm talking about, subscribe, click the little notification to stay up to date, all right? So, first off, what an unbelievable experience it was being on stage with her. And I'm going to talk about that experience. And for those of you that have been following this channel, you may have remembered a video I did right here. I'll put a link there, or also in the description, where I was basically talking about how I disagree with a certain the primary note to some degree that Abraham Hicks is teaching, which I believe her primary note that Esther is channeling from the collection of non-physical entities is the message of the law of attraction. And it's been my experience that the law of attraction, although it's a very powerful part of the spiritual journey, it's not the complete picture of what I believe to be a full spectrum spiritual experience, which I'm on the quest to have. I want to have it all. And law of attraction is one part. That's my feeling on it. My feeling is that she's mostly that note, and that she does have some other notes disseminating down the way, but that's her primary note. And the video I did was disagreeing with that she doesn't talk about inventory work or having a willingness to actually look at your past as a tool to help you awaken, as a tool to release things that may be running underneath the soft, the daily consciousness, some patterns of thinking that are manifesting that you're not aware of. The only way I feel we can become aware of these things is if we at least sometimes do a little bit deeper level inventory work, and we're willing to look at our past as a learning tool. And so that was what my video, my statement with that past video was that she doesn't go there. And so I went there with her right on stage. We went toe to toe, and she said at one point, I disagree with so much. I think she said, I disagree with so much of what you just said, which was crazy. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But here's something important that I have to say about this experience for me. Was this. This is part 1. I'm going to do a second part to this video. That second part I'm going to do after I receive the recording from the actual convention. Because here's why I need to do that, is because I don't really remember what happened. Like, it was so out of this body. It was such a surreal experience. It's like I'm piecing it together a bit. As I was on stage with her, there was such an overwhelming, I was so popped into the witness, like the deepest awareness of self that I am, like that. I was aware of the energy in my body. I was aware of the space around her. Her face was right there, like 3 feet in front of me, just going off, like, wow. And I'm just sitting there, I zoomed so much into the space that on one level, I was completely engaging with her. Like, I was talking, I asked her questions, she said something, I went, what about this? And then she went back and forth. Like, even though there was a back and forth to some degree, I mean, she talks over like crazy, which was kind of my, like, what the fuck? Like, this, just, would a collection of non-physical entities do that in that way? I don't know. I mean, side topic. But I felt so unbelievably charged by the energy of being 3 feet from her for like 10 minutes or whatever, how long it was, that it really can't remember. I remember bits and pieces of what was said, but I can't remember the whole thing. So I'm going to do a part 2 after, because you can order, when you're at these conventions, you can order the audio recording of the experience. So I'm kind of have my take now on it, and then I'll have my take after I listen to the recordings, which I'm sure is going to be completely different, you know, because I'll be able to actually hear what she said. But I did go, I'm going to back up and just tell you about the day. I'm going to give you the kind of talk through the day. Most of this video will just be about my experience of it, because I don't remember a lot of it. But my experience was, I went with my friend Leslie. It was a birthday present to her to take her to see Abraham Hicks, and so we went down together, and it was such a fun ride talking about mindfulness, spirituality. We get there, so many beautiful people, so much beautiful energy of people who are on the path of self-betterment, on the path of awakening, curious about understanding the law of attraction. It was such a great group of people. And after my segment, so many people came up to me and were saying, I really appreciated what you said. I'm buying the recording of today's session because of your segment. Like, there was so much love and support for what felt to me was, I felt really channeled to talk about what I had to say, and it turns out that what I had to say resonated a lot with the people in the room, which was such a beautiful, warm feeling, you know. But I have to say, it truly was inspired for me to ask these questions, because we got there early, and we got second row seats. Check out these seats right here. We were so close. It was like 15, 20 feet away. It was amazing. And we're sitting there, and so we got there really early, and as we walk, you know, I was hanging out. I bought a bunch of signed books of hers, autographed books. I've actually bought all of her books, which was really fun. I haven't read her books. All of my information about her I had received through watching probably 50 to 100 hours of her videos online, and just studying the way she works with people and making an assessment about her teaching from there. I hadn't actually read the books, and which kind of ties into also why I can't really fully give my take on this whole experience until I've done some more reading of her books. I'll talk about that in a second. But so we get there, we're 2 rows out, and the way it works is in the workshop, it was like 9 to 1 was the workshop, and she divides it up so that you have 3 1-hour sessions with her, and then she goes away for 20 minutes, you can reflect, come back. So the first session that she came out, I was just present, I was just meditating, I was just so aware of myself as the awareness, just absorbing the information. So many zingers were coming out. She's talking over people. They would kind of half ask a question, and then she'd go on a tangent for 5 or 10 minutes and come back. And so many incredible things were coming out. And then I was sitting there, and after the first segment, I wasn't really clear about what I was going to ask, if I was going to ask anything. I had no idea what I was actually going to say. I had a couple ideas kick in my mind, and I did this video where, like a few days ago, you can see on my Instagram, where I was like, hey, if I get called up on stage, what would you like me to ask Abraham Hicks? I was already planting the seed of attraction right there that I was going to get called, you know. It was pretty surreal. So first segment, I didn't ask her a question because I didn't feel it, you know. I didn't feel it. And then somewhere in there, in between the first segment and the second segment, I was talking with my friend Leslie, and I was saying, you know, I'm feeling a lot of surfacing energy to ask about this inventory question, this question of inventory, which I did a video on a while back, saying I disagreed with her. I had this feeling to get up there and say that. Like, wow, and my heart raced at the thought of it. But then I spoke with Leslie, and we kind of clarified what the question would be. And I knew it. At that moment, I was like, oh, I had a very clear question, a very clear intention. And so when we came back into the second segment, I raised my hand, and I was really putting out a clear vibration of call on me. And the first time I could feel her make eye contact with me, and then she didn't pick me. But I could feel, oh man, I connected. I could feel like an actual connection. And then I knew at that point I was going to get called on. And then I raised my hand again. The second time she came over, and she pointed right to me, and it was like my heart went, my heart was racing. And I stood up and kind of awkwardly got out of the aisle. And the way it's set up is, which it doesn't look like as much on the videos when you watch her online, but she has this chair that is facing upstage, facing away from the audience, and a microphone in front of it, and then she's looking at the chair standing above, you know, so you're sitting down like this and she's standing there 3 feet away, right in your face, just looking at you. This, you know, this, for me, I've watched so many hours of these videos and seen her do this with so many other people that for me to be there in that situation, for me doing it like with her, oh my God, that was crazy. It was like my heart was racing, and it took a second for me to calm down and just be like, okay, my heart's racing. I have a question. And my friend Leslie said that I spoke very clearly and very collected and very organized, and it all went very well that way. But it was so surreal. I felt like, you know, as soon as I got up there, it was really, I felt more aware of myself as the deep, non-physical self the whole time. And of course I was speaking, but I was just so present to the vibration, because being in front of her was like, the only other experience I've had similar to that was when I first started working with my spiritual teacher, Jesse Anderson, who passed away a couple of years ago in Colorado. I would have times when I sat with him where he was so charged that I lost that feeling of what he was saying, but I just felt the sensation of this expanded consciousness feeling. It's like you feel like you're checked out. It's like such a surreal experience. You feel like you're just emptiness. And so it's like weird. It's like in my memory, I have a picture of her face like right over me, and all these words and little spit coming out, looking at me, and I'm just like I'm just like, what? It's like I feel like I was in this. The energy was so intense that I couldn't remember it. However, somehow in the moment I was still engaged with her and talking to her in that moment, you know. And so it was like things were said, things came up, like people were like, it was so amazing. They said good job to me after, like, and I don't even remember what I said. Like I know that it had to do with me talking about inventory. I know that at a point she said, I disagree with everything you just said. And I know that there was an exchange, and then she kind of, to the best of my knowledge, reframed what I said to try to say that her approach does include to some degree this idea of inventory work, but honestly I don't remember. And my friend Leslie, who was there, isn't quite in agreement with me. I think that Abraham Hicks's primary note is the law of attraction. I think she thinks that every time I would say it doesn't feel like Abraham Hicks is teaching this, she would say no, she does teach this. So the truth is, I haven't read her books. I just have based all of my opinions of her off of YouTube videos I've seen. And my friend said that the books are way different and explain the law of attraction as a complete picture, including allowance of all things to be, including all of these, like the law of detachment, you know, law of reversed effort. Like there's a lot of laws out there that I think make up a true, complete spiritual practice that don't include just the law of attraction. But my friend Leslie seems to think that her teachings do, but you have to read the book. So I've got all the books. I'm going to read these books and see if that changes my perception. But as far as me giving you information as to my interpretation of her response to the question of, do you believe in inventory or not? Like, do you believe it's a part of the spiritual practice? Like, can I give you a real assessment of it from here? Not really. I'm piecing together information partially that I vaguely remember, as well as my friend who kind of doesn't agree with me, who gave me her take on the situation. So I don't have my awareness's take on this to share with you. So that's why this is a part 1 video. But I will say that some, you know, it was incredible. Like people came up after and they were asking, because I did mention that I've been so inspired by so many of these teachings that I have a YouTube account where I talk about this. And so many people came up after and were talking to me about the experience and wanted to take down the Selfless Awakening. So those of you that are watching this video now who took this information or know from the convention, thank you. It was so nice to connect with you. And if you did see this experience live, I know a couple of you did that are following. If you want to leave some comments about it before I get the audio recording and can do an honest follow-up video about what she said versus what I said, that would be cool. Leave some comments. But one thing I definitely will say is this. that was a kind of a downer to the whole experience. And not really a downer because it was so charged. There's no downer per se. It's just an incomplete part of her as a teacher, I feel. And it's this idea that there are some times where she would talk over people that didn't really have a clear question, or they got so blinded by her when they sat there they didn't know what to say. They're just like, I'm so happy to be here. And she pretty much would, in those situations, just kind of, if they started talking and going off track, she would just interrupt them and go right there. For me, I was very articulate and had a very clear thing to say, and she still interrupted so much, and I don't feel that I really got my clear question out. I feel I got parts of it, and I did get enough to get her going. Like, I do remember throughout it, you know, I did jump in on what she was saying a couple times, to try to interject and say things, but you know, it became clear to me that the experience was more about me setting her up to say things, and it was about being of service to the group of people by just getting out of the way and not jumping in with my feelings of, I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that. Like, I just kind of let it flow because she's so strong and she's standing up and this is her thing and she's talking over you, you know, and it's like I just let it kind of flow into her experience and let it be what it was. However, I do feel that whatever she said was powerful and did interest a lot of people, and I wouldn't be surprised if that segment gets up on her YouTube channel, is cut out and then put up as something, because it was amazing. It was truly amazing. I still feel high from the experience. I'm still processing it. I still remember little bits of it here and there, but man. So I think, let me say, I'm sure there's so much more I could say, but I'm going to stop there and just save the rest of this for the part 2 video, where after I get the recording and I listen to it and I can give you an honest assessment of what I said and what she said. I don't know if I'm going to be able to share the audio through my channel because they make you sign an agreement that they own all of the content that came out of the experience, and so you're not able to do stuff with it. But I think I may email the team over there and see if they'd be comfortable with me doing excerpts from it, because I'm going to talk about it on this channel. That would be cool. But we'll see what they say. We'll see if that's a possibility. This is the best I can do from here. Truth is, I don't remember a lot of it, but there was a lot said. So I'll talk about that more later. If you have anything, if you ever got on stage with her and had an experience with her, or if you were at this experience and saw it, feel free to leave comments about your take on it. I'm going to give my take later on, okay? So subscribe if you like this stuff. Click the little notification, stay up to date. Sending you all so much love. Hope you have a beautiful day.